If you have ever felt manipulated, deceived, outplayed, or outmaneuvered, then this message is for you. Because the problem we solve today is this: how do certain individuals gain power over others without them ever realizing it? We reveal the scariest level of intelligence, the kind Machiavelli warned rulers to recognize, fear, and if necessary, become. In every age, rulers rise and fall, empires grow and rot, and nations whisper the same question: why do a few dominate the many? Today we confront a problem older than kingdoms themselves: the quiet war between the cunning and the unsuspecting. This is an examination of intelligence not as poetry, not as education, but as a force capable of bending human will. You will learn why the most dangerous intellect is not loud, but silent, not moral, but strategic, not brilliant, but effective. When we speak of intelligence, most imagine scholars, philosophers, men who bury their noses in books and speak softly of theories no one understands. But the intelligence that shapes history, the intelligence that terrifies kings and reshapes empires, is nothing so gentle. It is not academic. It is not philosophical. It is a blade, silent, sharp, and designed not for admiration but for domination. Imagine a hall filled with advisors, nobles, and ambitious rivals. They parade their knowledge loudly, decorating their words with pride, eager to be seen as the wisest. Yet, in that same hall, hidden in the shadows, stands the true threat: the quiet mind. The one who measures every gesture, every shift of eyes, every insecurity whispered behind a smile. This is the mind that changes the fate of nations, not through force, but through precision. The scariest form of intelligence does not seek recognition. It seeks leverage. It studies people the way a hunter studies prey, learning their patterns, their weaknesses, their temptations. A man of ordinary wit sees what someone does. The terrifyingly intelligent mind sees why they do it. And once you know why a man moves, you can make him move again. You can push him toward ruin or guide him toward loyalty without ever touching him. Such intelligence is a dangerous gift. It allows its possessor to walk through the world unseen, unnoticed, yet always in control. While others waste words, this mind gathers information. While others argue, it takes note of their emotional cracks. While others demand power, it quietly acquires it. In the courts of princes, the loudest voice is rarely the most powerful. It is the listener, the observer, who becomes the true architect of events. This mind watches the strong boast of victories and the weak beg for mercy. And it learns. It learns how pride blinds the mighty. It learns how fear chains the timid. It learns how ambition makes fools sacrifice everything for the illusion of advancement. And once such knowledge is gathered, intelligence becomes a weapon sharper than any dagger. Consider this: the greatest generals win battles before they begin, not by swinging swords or charging into the fray, but by studying their enemy's character. A ruler who understands a rival's arrogance can turn it into a trap. A prince who knows another's desperation can lure him into betrayal with the promise of hope. A strategist who understands the fears of the people can bind them to him without ever lifting a hand. Victory is decided by perception long before soldiers ever meet on the field. This kind of intelligence is terrifying because it is invisible. You do not see it until it is too late. The person you underestimated, the one who spoke little and watched much, suddenly stands above you with all the power you thought was yours. You wonder how it happened, how your allies shifted, how your support collapsed, how your advantage turned to dust. Yet the truth is simple. While you were reacting, the intelligent mind was preparing. While you were speaking, it was listening. While you were showing your intentions, it concealed its own. The scariest intelligence is not unpredictable. It is inevitable. It unfolds like a carefully crafted plan, each step built upon the last with cold patience. This mind never rushes. It understands that domination is not achieved through force, but through inevitability. The opponent is allowed to believe he is winning, allowed to celebrate his temporary triumphs, allowed to walk proudly into the illusion he thinks he created, until he realizes he has been walking exactly where he was led. What gives this intelligence its frightening power is its mastery over emotions. It does not merely observe them, it weaponizes them. It knows that humans are governed not by reason, but by fear, desire, pride, envy, and insecurity. With a few well-placed words, it can stir doubt in the loyal, greed in the content, fear in the confident. And the beauty of it is that people never suspect the true mastermind. They believe their own emotions guided them. They believe their choices were independent. They believe they arrived at conclusions on their own. That is the ultimate victory of a truly dangerous mind. It makes its subjects participate willingly in their own manipulation. Such intelligence thrives in chaos. Where lesser minds panic, the Machiavellian mind becomes calm. It sees openings where others see crisis. It sees opportunities where others see disaster. It knows that a man facing uncertainty becomes pliable, that a city in fear becomes obedient, that a rival under pressure becomes predictable. Chaos is not the enemy of intelligence. It is the arena in which it performs best, where its subtle strategies become devastating. This level of intelligence is frightening because it does not rely on strength, resources, or status. It can belong to a prince or a peasant, to the wealthy or the obscure. It cannot be seen, measured, or restrained. It operates behind intentions, behind conversations, behind decisions. And the moment you notice its presence, it has already succeeded in reshaping your reality. True intelligence does not shine, it shadows. It does not reveal its depth, it disguises it. It does not demand power, it arranges for power to be offered. And once it holds power, it never loses it, not because of brutality or brilliance, but because its opponents never fully realize how they were defeated in the first place. This is why such intelligence is the most terrifying force in human history, because it turns the world into a chessboard and every person into a piece long before anyone realizes the game has begun. In the theater of power, appearances are everything. Those who seek dominance often fail not because they lack strength, cunning, or intelligence, but because they underestimate the power of perception. A man of terrifying intellect understands this, and he wears virtue as a mask, not as a truth. The mask of virtue is not morality, it is strategy. It is the careful crafting of an image that hides intent, manipulates trust, and bends others to one's will, without them ever recognizing it. Observe the world. People are drawn to goodness. They respect honesty, admire charity, and trust those who claim integrity. This is no accident. Humans are creatures of instinct, conditioned to believe in the visible righteousness of another. It is here that the most cunning minds strike, not with force, but with the art of illusion. To appear virtuous is to disarm suspicion. To appear humble is to encourage disclosure. To appear morally upright is to cloak ambition behind the safety of conscience. The truly intelligent understand that when you hide behind virtue, people do not defend themselves. They invite you closer. The most dangerous intelligence does not scream its intentions. It smiles. It offers handshakes and praise. It comforts the fearful. It nurtures the ambitious. And while the world sees a paragon of honesty or a benefactor of goodwill, the mind behind the mask is calculating, observing every reaction, every hesitation, every unguarded word. The mask of virtue is not a costume. It is a lens through which the world reveals its secrets. And once those secrets are known, power is inevitable. Consider a ruler who governs with fear. He might have armies, he might issue decrees, he might punish the disobedient with brutality. His subjects obey, yes, but their obedience is fragile. It can be broken with defiance, rebellion, or betrayal. Now consider a ruler who governs with perceived virtue. He smiles upon the people, he listens to their concerns, he appears fair in judgment. His subjects obey not because they must, but because they choose to. Believing loyalty to him aligns with their own morality. In this way, the mind cloaked in virtue gains obedience not through threat, but through illusion, and this obedience is far more reliable, far more terrifying than that achieved by force. The mask of virtue is a tool for manipulation, and its success depends entirely on subtlety. Too obvious, and it becomes hypocrisy. Too faint, and it fails to deceive. The master of the mask calibrates every action, every word, every gesture, ensuring that perception aligns perfectly with the desired image. When he gives charity, it is measured so that gratitude outweighs suspicion. When he forgives, it is calculated so that loyalty is reinforced. When he praises, it is designed to make allies complicit in their own admiration. Every move, though appearing spontaneous, is deliberate, and it is in this precision that the danger of such intelligence is revealed. One of the most powerful aspects of wearing virtue is that it allows one to manipulate enemies as easily as allies. A rival who believes in your honor will underestimate your ambition. He will lower his guard, believing that no man of virtue could act in deceit. And in that moment, the seemingly upright mind moves, and the opponent falls into the trap they never saw coming. The mask of virtue is thus both shield and weapon. It protects while simultaneously enabling conquest. This intelligence is frightening because it exploits human weakness with elegance. People want to believe in goodness, they crave justice, they respect morality. When the mask of virtue is worn correctly, it does not just conceal ambition, it seduces it. It draws trust, loyalty, and admiration from those who would otherwise resist. It transforms skepticism into cooperation, fear into devotion, and rivalry into unwitting assistance. The mind behind the mask does not confront the world, it coaxes the world to act according to its plan, all while maintaining the appearance of harmlessness. History is filled with men who failed to recognize this principle. They judged others by the standards of their own honesty, expecting truth where only strategy existed. They mistook the mask for the face, assuming that those who smiled with virtue could not act with cunning. And so they were outmaneuvered, outplayed, and undone, not by might, but by perception. Who survive, those who dominate, understand that the scariest intelligence is not one that strikes openly, but one that hides behind a carefully constructed image. The mastery of the mask requires discipline and patience. It is not sufficient to perform virtue sporadically. It must become a constant presence, a character that the world recognizes and trusts. It must be reinforced in every interaction, every public statement, every private conversation. The intelligent mind understands that inconsistency invites scrutiny, and scrutiny reveals truth. Therefore, every smile must be genuine in its appearance, every act of kindness convincing, every declaration of morality impeccably timed. In this way, the mask becomes indistinguishable from reality in the eyes of observers, and the intelligence behind it operates with terrifying freedom. The mask of virtue is also a defensive strategy. It protects from suspicion, deflects envy, and tempers resentment. A man who acts solely on ambition, no matter how brilliant, incites fear and opposition. But a man who acts with virtue, or appears to, gains influence without provoking hostility. He can navigate courts, cities, and nations with ease, shaping events while remaining untouchable. The world sees a leader, a benefactor, a sage. It never suspects the strategist who wields power as effortlessly as a surgeon wields a scalpel. This is why the mask of virtue is not merely a tool of deception. It is the embodiment of terrifying intelligence. It transforms knowledge into influence, observation into authority, and restraint into unstoppable power. And those who fail to recognize the distinction between true virtue and strategic appearance find themselves trapped, manipulated, and controlled by minds they believe to be morally aligned with them. To understand true intelligence, one must first understand humanity. The scariest level of intelligence does not arise from knowledge of laws, philosophy, or strategy alone. It arises from the precise comprehension of human nature, the desires, fears, and ambitions that govern every choice, every thought, every hesitation. A man who masters human nature does not merely react to people. He predicts, manipulates, and shapes them as a sculptor molds clay. Humans are driven by a few simple truths, yet they disguise them with pretenses of morality, reason, and honor. Fear and desire are the twin engines of action. Pride and vanity are the gates through which every influence passes. A man who ignores these truths is easily manipulated. A man who understands them becomes the master of situations, of people, and ultimately of power itself. The scariest intelligence lies not in brute force or eloquence, but in the ability to read, interpret, and exploit these human tendencies before anyone else even notices they exist. The intelligent observer recognizes that men will act not in accordance with reason, but in accordance with emotion. They will pursue pleasure even when it harms them, cling to security even when it limits them, and obey fear even when logic demands resistance. A strategist who understands this can guide men as easily as a river guides water. He does not need armies to enforce obedience. He needs only to understand the currents of the human heart and to steer them quietly, invisibly, inevitably. Consider fear, the most reliable motivator of all. A man who understands fear knows that it can inspire loyalty as readily as it can incite betrayal. He observes what people fear most, the loss of status, the shame of failure, the threat of harm, and he wields that knowledge with precision. By hinting at consequences, by cultivating uncertainty, by exploiting anxiety, he can shape actions without force. People act not because they are commanded, but because they are subtly persuaded that their own interests, their own survival demand it. In the hands of a master of human nature, fear becomes not a weapon, but a tool of inevitability. Desire is equally powerful. Every man harbors dreams, ambitions, and cravings. The intelligent mind recognizes these as levers of control. Desire can be flattered, encouraged, or manipulated to achieve compliance. A ruler who offers hope at the right moment can turn a skeptic into an ally. A merchant who tempts greed can secure loyalty without paying a single coin. Desire is the invisible chain that binds the willing, and mastery of it allows an intelligent mind to orchestrate outcomes without apparent interference. Yet mastery of human nature is not limited to understanding fear and desire. It extends to pride, vanity, envy, and ambition. Humans are motivated by the image they hold of themselves, by the recognition they seek from others, by the belief that their actions carry significance. A mind that comprehends this can manipulate appearances to guide behavior. Praise can be a bribe, flattery a trap, a subtle insult a weapon. People will act in accordance with the identities they are persuaded to assume, believing they act of their own volition, never realizing that their choices were orchestrated from behind the veil of perception. The truly terrifying intelligence recognizes patterns in human behavior. It notices the reactions to small provocations, the inconsistencies in speech, the unconscious signals of emotion. It calculates risk, not through probability alone, but through the understanding of human psychology. It predicts betrayal before it occurs, loyalty before it is pledged, ambition before it is spoken aloud. In every interaction, it sees not just the surface, but the underlying currents of thought and desire that determine action. Mastery of human nature also means anticipating irrationality. Men are not consistent, they are not logical, they are not rational. A person may profess loyalty while plotting treachery, claim to act for virtue while seeking profit, or demonstrate courage while secretly trembling. The intelligent mind does not take these contradictions at face value. It studies them, discerns the patterns, and learns to manipulate the inconsistencies for its own advantage. It thrives where others fail, because it can navigate the chaos of human emotion with skill that appears almost supernatural. History is littered with the unprepared, the brilliant yet naive, who assumed that power could be commanded without understanding those who follow, oppose, or envy them. They relied on rules, structures, or weapons, forgetting the invisible forces that actually drive human decisions. The mind that masters human nature knows that kingdoms fall not to swords alone, but to betrayal, fear, indecision, and misjudgment. By controlling the human element, one can control armies, nations, and empires without ever confronting them directly. Furthermore, mastery of human nature requires patience and observation. One cannot understand people in a single encounter or a moment of anger. It requires careful study over time, listening to conversations, noting reactions, interpreting actions in context, and understanding the unspoken motivations behind speech. The mind that masters human nature is always attentive, always calculating, always learning. It collects data not for knowledge alone, but for leverage, and it applies it with precision, often in ways so subtle that no one suspects the manipulation until it is complete. This intelligence is terrifying because it is pervasive and invisible. A person can be surrounded by allies and enemies alike, thinking themselves secure, only to find their behavior anticipated, their decisions guided, and their fate sealed by a mind that sees the hidden machinery of human desire and fear. It is an intelligence that cannot be bargained with, cannot be confronted directly, and cannot be resisted effectively unless one reaches the same level of understanding. The mastery of human nature is the foundation upon which all other power is built. It is the engine behind diplomacy, the lever behind strategy, the unseen hand that shifts the course of history. Without it, wealth, armies, and titles are insufficient. With it, the smallest, quietest, most unassuming individual can achieve dominance over kings, generals, and nations. It is the scariest form of intelligence precisely because it is invisible, inevitable, and inescapable, bending men and events to its will before they ever realize it exists. In the arena of influence and control, reality is rarely as significant as the perception of reality. The scariest intelligence does not merely rely on knowledge, strategy, or strength. It manipulates the way the world perceives those elements. Power through perception is the art of shaping belief, guiding interpretation, and controlling the narrative so completely that people act according to the illusion rather than the truth. The mind that masters this principle becomes untouchable, not because it is invincible, but because it is invisible in its subtle dominion. Consider a ruler whose strength is apparent. Soldiers, allies, and rivals all observe armies, fortresses, and decrees. They calculate power by measurable assets, wealth, men, and territory. Yet even the strongest army is worthless if its enemies believe it is weak. Conversely, even a modest force becomes unstoppable if its power is exaggerated in the minds of those who oppose it. The scariest intelligence understands this distinction. Perception is the battlefield, and reality is merely a tool. One shapes belief first, and the world follows obediently. To wield power through perception requires discipline and attention to detail. Every action, every word, every gesture is a message that can be interpreted or misinterpreted. The intelligent mind crafts these messages with the precision of a painter, knowing that a single misstep can shatter the illusion. If a leader appears hesitant, fear spreads. If he appears decisive, loyalty solidifies. If he appears generous, respect grows. The perception of strength, virtue, and wisdom becomes the armor and weapon of the strategist, often more effective than armies, swords, or gold. The manipulation of perception is also an exercise in timing. Human beings respond not only to facts, but to interpretation, emotion, and expectation. A mind skilled in perception observes the moods of the populace, the desires of allies, and the fears of enemies, then acts in a way that confirms or amplifies those expectations. A well-timed action can transform a weak appearance into an aura of invincibility. A carefully chosen statement can convert doubt into loyalty. A subtle display of generosity can disguise ruthless intent. The genius of perception is that it requires no overt power, only the ability to shape belief, and belief drives action more effectively than force ever could. Perception is also a weapon in manipulation of rivals. Those who underestimate a cunning mind are easy prey, but those who fear its perceived power are even easier to control. Enemies are paralyzed by uncertainty when they cannot discern truth from appearance. Allies are guided by admiration and trust when they see virtue and competence, even if only in the illusion. By shaping perception, the intelligent mind controls not only behavior but thought itself. People act as though the strategist's will is inevitable because they believe in the image that has been presented to them. A critical aspect of power through perception is the orchestration of reputation. A reputation is the collective perception of one's abilities, character, and influence. The terrifyingly intelligent mind cultivates reputation meticulously, ensuring that every story, every rumor, and every display reinforces the intended image. Reputation becomes a weapon that precedes the individual into every room, court, or When enemies hear of wisdom, cunning, or invincibility, they hesitate. When allies hear of fairness, strength, or benevolence, they obey. Perception, once carefully molded, acts as a silent force multiplier. Moreover, perception controls morality as well as behavior. Humans are drawn to those they respect, fear, or admire. By shaping perception, a strategist can make people believe that obedience, loyalty, or support aligns with virtue. People will fight, sacrifice, and act in ways that serve the strategist's goals, believing they act righteously. The mind that understands this transforms ordinary individuals into willing instruments of its design, all without resorting to coercion. They are led not by force, but by the compelling illusion that their actions are justified. The manipulation of perception also ensures longevity of power. Physical strength can fail, armies can be defeated, and wealth can be stolen, but perception persists. A ruler who is feared and respected through perception can survive temporary setbacks that would destroy those who rely solely on brute force. Even in moments of vulnerability, if perception remains unbroken, control endures. Allies remain loyal, opponents hesitate, and opportunities continue to unfold in favor of the strategist. The terrifying aspect of this intelligence is that it is nearly invisible. Most people react only to what they perceive, rarely questioning the gap between appearance and reality. They believe what they see and hear, and act accordingly, unwittingly participating in the manipulation. They do not recognize the architect behind the image, and even if they suspect, the complexity of the illusion often overwhelms their ability to resist. This intelligence does not strike like a sword, it guides like a shadow, invisible yet inescapable, shaping outcomes without confrontation. In essence, power through perception transforms the world into a stage, and the intelligent mind becomes the director. Every person is an actor, every action a scene, and every belief a plotline that can be guided, rewritten, and controlled. The strategist does not merely respond to events, he designs the way events are perceived, and perception dictates behavior. Control of perception is therefore control of reality itself, because humans act upon what they believe, not what is. History provides countless examples of rulers, generals, and leaders who understood this principle. They could command without force, defeat without combat, and rule without overt oppression. Their genius was not in strength alone, but in their ability to shape the eyes, minds, and expectations of all who observed them. Those who failed to perceive the depth of this strategy were undone, often believing themselves clever, only to discover that they had been outmaneuvered not by power, but by belief. Power through perception is the cornerstone of terrifying intelligence, for it allows domination without confrontation, influence without coercion, and inevitability without detection. Those who master it manipulate the world in ways unseen, guiding men, nations, and events as though they were mere extensions of a carefully constructed image. In every age, in every court, in every city, a stark truth remains. Power is not given, it is seized, and survival is not guaranteed, it is earned. The scariest level of intelligence confronts this reality with clarity and precision, understanding that those who fail to adapt, who fail to study, and who fail to master the subtle currents of human behavior are destined to become prey to those who do. The world does not reward virtue, honesty, or effort alone. It rewards strategy, foresight, and the ability to act when others hesitate. The inevitable choice for those who seek to endure and dominate is to either cultivate terrifying intelligence or become subject to it. Humans are creatures of habit, belief, and expectation. They rely on rules, appearances, and assurances, assuming that life can be navigated safely if one follows a moral compass or a prescribed path. Yet history demonstrates time and again that this faith in predictability is a weakness. The cunning mind sees the cracks in this confidence, the unguarded moments, the impulsive decisions, the overconfidence of those who believe themselves secure. To master intelligence at the highest level is to recognize these weaknesses and to act decisively, not in reaction, but in anticipation. The inevitable choice is not theoretical, it is practical. It is the understanding that inaction is surrender and ignorance is vulnerability. The terrifying mind does not rely on luck or circumstance. It calculates, anticipates, and positions itself so that the outcomes of human behavior align with its strategy. Every alliance, every negotiation, every confrontation is approached with the understanding that human nature is predictable if observed closely, and manipulable if approached subtly. The intelligent mind sees opportunities where others see chaos, and it exploits fear, desire, pride, and loyalty as tools to shape outcomes. Those who fail to recognize this operate in a dangerous illusion, believing that morality, honesty, or kindness will shield them, when in reality, those who understand and wield the mechanics of influence are already 3 moves ahead. The choice is further clarified by observation of the powerful. Those who succeed in the courts of kings, in the corridors of governments, and in the shadows of empires are not always the strongest, wealthiest, or most virtuous. They are those who have mastered calculation, timing, and human perception. They are willing to make choices that others avoid, to embrace risks that others fear, and to manipulate circumstances that others accept as immutable. Intelligence at this level is not static, it is active, dynamic, and unforgiving. It creates an environment in which those who fail to act are swept aside, often without realizing the magnitude of their disadvantage until it is too late. Fear is a constant companion of this knowledge. To see clearly the mechanics of human behavior, to understand the depth of manipulation possible, is to recognize the vulnerability inherent in every social interaction. The terrifying mind understands that at any moment, alliances may crumble, loyalty may falter, and ambition may ignite betrayal. Those who are not prepared, those who refuse to cultivate foresight, are defenseless in such moments. The inevitable choice is clear: either embrace the rigor and discipline necessary to navigate this treacherous terrain, or accept the reality that you will be maneuvered, exploited, and overcome by those who do. Mastery of strategy, perception, and human behavior is not an optional pursuit, it is a requirement for survival. Ignorance, naivety, or complacency is not merely a personal failing, it is an invitation to be controlled. The scariest intelligence recognizes that the world does not operate according to fairness, morality, or natural justice. It operates according to opportunity, calculation, and adaptation. Those who fail to acknowledge this, who cling to illusions of virtue or simplicity, are doomed to be instruments of the very minds they underestimate. The inevitability of choice also encompasses moral flexibility. Terrifying intelligence does not imply cruelty for its own sake, nor does it demand betrayal at every opportunity. Rather, it demands pragmatism, the understanding that survival and influence require decisions based on efficacy, not sentiment. It is the recognition that sometimes the preservation of power, the accomplishment of goals, or the protection of one's position necessitates actions that ordinary morality would resist. The intelligent mind measures decisions against outcomes, not ideals, and adapts with precision. Those who refuse to do so find themselves constrained, vulnerable, and ultimately defeated. History is replete with examples of those who ignored this principle. Princes, generals, and leaders who relied on assumed virtue, unquestioned loyalty, or static systems found themselves undone by men of cunning intellect. Their downfall was rarely dramatic. It was often subtle, almost imperceptible, until suddenly they found themselves outmaneuvered, betrayed, and powerless. The terrifying mind, conversely, orchestrates events with foresight so exact that it appears inevitable, leaving allies and rivals alike believing they acted of their own volition, while in truth, every move had been anticipated, every weakness exploited, every opportunity converted into advantage. To cultivate this level of intelligence, one must embrace observation, calculation, and patience. One must study human behavior relentlessly, noting patterns, reactions, and tendencies. One must learn the art of timing, the subtlety of influence, and the manipulation of perception. Knowledge alone is insufficient. It must be combined with decisive action when the moment demands. The inevitable choice is therefore not merely intellectual, but practical, strategic, and moral in its own pragmatic sense. Those who understand this principle become architects of fate. They recognize that life is not a contest of fairness, virtue, or effort, but a contest of insight, foresight, and application. They prepare for every eventuality, anticipate every challenge, and position themselves so that the natural flow of human behavior aligns with their objectives. And those who do not, those who assume life will unfold according to simplicity, honesty, or chance, become victims of a system they cannot perceive, manipulated by minds they cannot comprehend. The scariest intelligence is therefore both liberating and terrifying. It provides the tools to navigate a world driven by ambition, fear, and desire, yet it exposes the harsh truth that mastery is required for survival. The inevitable choice is unavoidable. One must either rise to this level of insight and control, or one will be moved, constrained, and dominated by those who have. Now, having explored the depths of terrifying intelligence, it becomes clear that power, influence, and survival are not determined by strength, wealth, or virtue alone. They are determined by mastery of observation, of human nature, of perception, and of timing. The minds we have examined do not merely react to the world, they shape it. They bend reality to their will, not through brute force, but through the precision of thought, the subtlety of action, and the inevitability of strategy. To understand this level of intelligence is to recognize a fundamental truth. Most people live their lives unaware, believing in morality, honesty, or luck, while the cunning manipulate events and people around them to their own advantage. Fear and desire, pride and loyalty, ambition and deception, they are all instruments in the hands of the master strategist. And the scariest minds wield these instruments not haphazardly, but with calculated purpose, patience, and foresight. The lessons are clear. Intelligence without action is wasted. Virtue without strategy is naive. Knowledge without understanding human nature is useless. Those who survive, those who dominate, are those who see the world as it is, not as they wish it to be, and act accordingly. They understand that perception can be more powerful than reality, that patience can be more deadly than force, and that subtlety can achieve what overt power cannot. Ultimately, the choice is unavoidable. One can cultivate this terrifying intelligence, learning to observe, to manipulate, and to act with precision, or one can remain blind to the forces that shape their life, destined to be influenced, controlled, and outmaneuvered by those who do. The scariest level of intelligence is not an abstract concept. It is the reality of power itself, and those who understand it, master it, and embrace it, hold the world in the palm of their hand. In the end, the greatest power lies not in what one possesses, but in what one sees, understands, and manipulates before anyone else even realizes the game has begun.